Welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. We talk prepping, guns, and politics every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Go check out our content at mwfpodcast.com on Facebook or Instagram. You can support us via Patreon or by checking out our affiliate partners. I'm your host, Phil Rabalais, and my co-host, Andrew Bobo, is on the other side of the mic, and here's your show. So, if this show seems a little bit disjointed or like we're fumbling our way through it, that's because until about an hour ago, we had a show planned, but unfortunately our guest is dealing with homesteader problems. Which I can't really blame him for, because, you know, when your goat picks this exact moment to go into labor, it's kind of something nobody can hold anybody else accountable for.
Yeah, not his fault. But no, we'll get him on hopefully this week.
Yeah, hopefully this week we'll be able to get him on, but in his absence, we're going to carry on with announcements. As soon as I can get this lit up. So, it's not as if we intentionally kept this under our hats, because honestly, us going back to prepper camp this year has kind of materialized, in the last 6 or 7 days, Andrew? I mean... I feel like a week ago we had not made plans to go, and then very, very quickly the situation changed.
Yeah, it changed. We're going to be back at prepper camp, so it was kind of a spur of the moment kind of thing. It was kind of like, hey, you want to go? Yeah, sure, let's go. And looked at timing and all that stuff, and because I know I missed last year. Wait, did you miss last year?
No, I was there last year with my family, but last year, I really, really Josh Raminga. Anytime you need me on, I'll be there.
Oh.
Most of our guests feel that way. Unfortunately, what usually happens is that adult responsibilities take over, having fun with your lunatic friends, which I don't blame anybody for. But, last year, I was there with my family, so, I don't want to say I neglected my other quote-unquote responsibilities at camp, but, I really went out of my way to make sure that, my wife and daughter were taken care of, they were having a good time, they got to go see the show, they picked all the classes, and then in the evenings, I was still recording with PPN and recording with the Matter of Facts crew, so, I had to wear two hats, and it was fun, it was a great time. They're not going to come this year, because one of the reasons why at least we had previously decided not to go this year was because my wife and daughter going, as fun as it is, it involves my wife taking off a not inconsequential amount of time, and as a teacher, she just doesn't have a ton of time off to take. So it was one of those situations where it was like, if I yank her from her job and my daughter out of school, they don't have the ability, my wife doesn't have time to take really any other time off for the rest of the year, except for little ones and twos here and there. And then if she gets sick, God forbid, she's already burned through most of her leave. So, her and my daughter coming back to prepper camp right now is just not a great situation. And that kind of tipped my hand towards, if I can't bring my wife and daughter, I'm not really attending for the classes anymore. We really go to just hang out with everybody else. And we go to see Rick and Jane, and we go to hang out with the crew from the Matter of Facts podcast that comes. We go to hang out with the PBN crew. But, I felt like you and I were reaching a point where we weren't getting as much return on investment for going to the classes, which we'll talk about in a minute. But as situations worked out this year, we're not just going to hang out. We're actually going to be manning a vendor booth in the vendor area. And we were given carte blanche to do with it what we will, and you and I kind of bumped our noggins together and came up with a plan and decided the thing to do is do what we do. We record a show. We podcast about prepper topics. We podcast about survivalism. We podcast about threats. We podcast about all these sorts of things. And we're going to do what we do. So 9:30, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning, we will record a show. That show's going to be probably just me and Andrew, unless we get a wild hair bar behind. But my plan is record the show, cell service allowing. I'm going to upload it as soon as the show is over. So attendees and anybody that couldn't make it will be getting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning hits from Matter of Facts podcast directly from Prepper Camp. And then Friday and Saturday at 11:30, 1:30, and 3:30, we'll be down to the vendors area, and we will either, if we get somebody that wants to come on as a guest, you're going to come on the show. And if we don't get any takers, we might record. We might just hang out and visit with everybody. But I thought that the way to do this was to make ourselves accessible, to try to invite attendees to come onto the show, which is an experience that I don't think many of them are going to get anywhere else, and also give us an opportunity to really promote this event, which this is the 10-year anniversary of Prepper Camp, which I think our first time going was, help me out with this, Andrew. We started podcasting in 2016, and I want to say
I think it was,
2018 was our first year.
yeah, I think it was, yeah, something like that.
So 5 years.
Yeah, 'cause I remember when we went, like, Win and stuff like that, it was like they were already going, like they've already been, a few years. So
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely not there for the inaugural years of Prepper Camp, but we've definitely seen it grow by leaps and bounds over the last several years. And it's always, like, I know from talking to Rick and Jane that the greatest challenge is always to kind of reinvent it every year so that it doesn't ever feel stale. And they don't rest on their laurels. I mean, in 2018 when we first went, like, I remember a lot of the classes, and the classes that were there were everything you would expect in the preparedness area. But what I've seen in the past years is that the information has continued to get updated. The top new topics have been brought into this discussion, some of which we've kind of had a hand in. Because, like, I know as we go down through this list, this is all the tentative classes for this year, and at least one of these is a class I had a hand in instigating, directly or indirectly, depending on, how much you want to blame me for it. But area intelligence, I suspect I know who might be teaching the class, and that's been around for a while. Artificial intelligence sounds like a new one. Avoiding abduction, I feel like we've had a class in that vein one way or the other for a while. Beekeeping is a standout at Prepper Camp. There's a ton of information out there regarding beekeeping. Have you ever sat in on the blacksmithing class?
no.
My daughter wanted to attend it last year, and it's not a lot of hands-on. It's a lot of, like, kind of a primer to blacksmithing, because I imagine that skill is a lot of beat stuff with a hammer until your hands figure out what they're doing. But it's good. It's a good primer. Bug out bags is an oldie but a goodie. Building a stone oven. I don't think I've seen that one. Canning, colloidal silver, digital footprint, Dutch oven, camp cooking.
Yeah, there's like 23 new classes there this year. Is what they've added, which is really good. I mean that. Yeah, I mean there. I mean the whole return on investment for us. It's a lot of fun. Like, basically, Prepper Camp turned into networking. Basically, it's a giant networking event for us. And then, I mean, it's nice to see Rick and Jane. Uh, but and then the PBN crew and all that stuff. But I don't know. I mean, like last year, I basically didn't go last year just because of vacation. I didn't have the time available to go. So, and then basically it was because I was trying to carry a week over, keep a week available so I could carry a week over this year, to have 4 weeks of vacation. So basically, yeah, I got the time this year, and it kind of worked out. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward. I mean, I'll probably I might hit up some classes just because of, I mean, 23 new classes and stuff. It's going to be interesting to see what's new and all that stuff, and everything. So, no, I'm looking forward to it. Kind of, trying to see what we can do as far as where we're staying at and all that stuff. Just because last minute planning, getting thrown in, basically the decision to go last minute kind of threw us, like, okay, well, we don't have a campsite and stuff like that like we did in the past, but I mean, we got enough people going, we might be able to squeeze on somewhere, and if not, then just throw up a tent behind the vendor.
Yeah. Well, right now we have a tentative invitation. I would call it a tentative invitation until we get there and we make sure that that winds up working out. But we have a pretty firm invitation from one of our patrons, who I don't want to out on the show, but we all know him and love him. He's got two sites. He doesn't need them both, and he was, as in the past, he's always held on to one pretty much just in case. And this year we are the just in case. So we probably have a spot up on top of the hill. In the event that somebody needs it worse than you and I do, I've made it very apparent we can camp in the vendor's area. Like, I don't know that that's second best or a fallback plan, but my preference would be to hang out with the group we usually go with. But if it doesn't work out, or if somebody has no backup, we do have that as a backup. So like, we have a place to put our heads at night. And the only trick there is if we camp in the vendor's area, we might have to buy a night in the campsite for Sunday night. Because I don't know about you, I'm not leaving until Monday morning. Josh Raminga, do they have any campsites available? If you're thinking about going, you had better call right now, like tomorrow morning. Because this late, they're usually pretty well booked up. They do have Tent City, which is the unimproved area. And in the past, Andrew helped me out with this. I don't remember if Tent City is first come, first serve, or if you can actually reserve space out there.
I'm not really sure. I don't recall. I think you can reserve spots. I think.
Yeah. That I'm not sure about, but I will say that if you end up in Tent City, like the unimproved spots, like, it is boondocking. You are going to walk to use the bathroom. You better plan to bring in your own water, have your own power. I mean, if you can camp primitive, yeah, that's an option. I mean, half my camping stuff is behind me on racks and in boxes. Like, I could go super primitive if I wanted to, but if what you're hoping for is a place to plug an extension cord in, Tent City's going to be rough for you because it's just an open field. That being said, like, several of our listeners have gone out there and said it's not bad, but you have to be, yes, if you're a prepper, you always have a backup. However, I am the first to admit that, like, let's just say some of us have spouses who place minimum requirements on comfort. Like, my minimum comfort level is way down here, and my spouse is further up here. So usually I have to meet in the middle where her level is.
Yeah, no, Josh, I can talk to you after the show. I can call you, and we'll talk about it. But yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, like I said, and the other reason why I didn't go last year too is just the drive. I mean, it's a 14-hour drive for me, and it was like, you know what? Let's. I think the year before I went, I don't think I attended a single class, just because of just basically hanging out at the campsite, networking, and just having fun and stuff. But yeah, I mean, no, it's going to be interesting this time. It's the 10-year anniversary of Prepper Camp, so it's good. It's good. It's good to go. Looks like they added they added classes, so that's good. And so yeah, it's one of those things where I find if you skip a year and go back the next year, or you skip 2 years or whatever, it's not entirely a bad thing, because it's just it'll feel like kind of new. Since I didn't go last year, it'll be kind of new and stuff. So no, I'm looking forward to it. I'm just trying to decide whether or not I want to spend the money and get some gear for my truck. Like, I was looking at a rooftop tent and a bed rack. So I'm trying to decide if I want to spend the money and time to have that, so I can utilize that, or just I was thinking about just, small tent or a hammock or something. So
yeah, well, I mean, you already know what my setup's going to be. I've got my little 2-man, which is more like a 1.5-man Alps mountaineering that I'll be throwing down on the ground wherever I wind up. So I don't know. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I always do look forward to Prepper Camp. I look forward to doing anything with this group of people, because I've said in past years, and I say it every time, but when you get this many preppers together, you realize a couple things very quickly. First of all, that most of these people will happily talk your ear off and share every bit of knowledge they have with you. All you have to do is ask. And that's mostly because, we all remember what it was like to not know our butt from a hole in the ground, and we all want to help each other out. And it's also the fact that, half the information you take home from prepper camp doesn't happen in those tents. It happens walking from one place to another, making friends. It happens up on the hill if you camp overnight. Like Andrew and I have both had the experience of sitting around the campsite, and one of our friends will pull out the newest whatcha-dinky, and everybody in the tent is to be like, "I need one of those. That's awesome. That solves a problem." Like that's where I got the that's why I have a tripod grill still in all my camping gear, because Wynn showed up with one year, and all of us were like, "That's amazing! It's this tiny little, it packs in this tiny little space, and you can put it over a fire and grill stuff." I mean, it's like we get most of our bad ideas from each other right there around the fire in the evenings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think my checking account appreciates it near as much as I do, but I do.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's always good to see, because yeah, a lot of people will bring out new gear, like stoves. I mean, but this is a time to a chance to test everything and get ideas and uh, get input. If you're trying to make something better, like it's a good time to do it. It's just a perfect time to just, hey, what do you think about this? And this is what I'm thinking, or I don't know. It's a good time to do it. So I mean, and that's not just prepper camp. I mean, if you can get out and just camping in general. I mean, camping in general lets you use your preps, lets you use your gear, stuff like that to get used to doing it. So, I mean, it's good reason to get out.
Yeah, but the cool part about camping with this group in particular is it's happened to me, it's happened to you, it's happened to all of us. Every one of us has gotten out there and then played prepper bingo, where we've been like, "Oh, I am missing a can opener," and four people holler
Oh yeah.
bingo and say oh, here's one. It happens every year. And for the one person in the audience that's going to remind me that I am the knucklehead that went to prepper camp without a can opener that year, I would like to remind you, I had two can openers. They were just buried in the bottom of the box, and I hadn't found them yet. But I did find them, but not before every single person in attendance roasted me about how I managed to come to prepper camp without a can opener.
Yeah, crap happens. But
Log auger, that's one that I've looked at. I haven't taken that jump though. Mostly
yeah,
because like where I camp, at least where I camp down here, usually wood is so freaking, because bear in mind, Andrew lives in Michigan, I live in South Louisiana. Where I camp down here, most of the wood is so freaking wet you couldn't start with a blowtorch. Like it, a Swedish candle looks really cool. Most of the wood I come across is too damn wet or it's too damn rotten. Yeah, unless you just get lucky.
yeah, yeah. I mean, well, yeah. I guess it all depends. This month, I mean, July, it's been pretty wet for us here. A lot of rain, so it'd be fun yeah. But I mean, the thing is though, is like, yeah, the logs and stuff, they might be waterlogged, or whatever. No pun intended, I guess. But the nice thing about that auger, like, because Josh and I were talking about it one day, and I mean, it's basically you can just drill into um, the center of the log and burn it from the inside out. So I don't know. It's just an interesting thing that it'd be kind of I think it'd be kind of fun to see just what it does and just kind of play with it. So I don't know. I was looking at maybe trying to pick one up, but yeah, you got to make sure the wood is dry. That's definitely a plus. So
You're not going to bring the flamethrower to start a wet campfire again?
I mean, I could. I got to charge the battery. That reminds me, the battery's dead on it. So but yeah, I could bring the old flamethrower. That'd be do some
One of my
memories.
one of my coworkers had a friggin' heart palpitation when I told them that they can mail order a flamethrower to their front door without a background check.
You can mail order a cannon to your house. So
Yeah, I didn't get that. But this happened because it was that year that it rained like
yeah,
the entire camp, and I was showing everybody pictures, and there's you squirting the flamethrower onto the fire to start it, and yeah, this older lady, very very progressive, was just very very upset about the fact that anybody would own a flamethrower, and then when I explained to her, I'm like, well, but he used it to light a campfire. Then her tactic changed to, well, but he has a background check for right. I'm like, no, you just UPS the stupid thing to your front door. That sent her over the edge.
Yeah, I mean, she's the same person that I'm sure has a lot of opinions about firearms too. So,
Oh, she
but
does. If she had half as much knowledge about firearms, she and I can have a really cool conversation.
yeah, yeah. So no, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. It's gonna be a good time. So
Yeah. So I don't think we're going to belabor this like too long because, like I said, we did have a show and it was planned. We did our due diligence, and then things just kind of fell off the fell off the wagon at the last second. But we are going to prepper camp, and we will be down in the vendors area. And if anybody happens to be in attendance or walking by, and I will do my best. I will do my due diligence to have a sign up sheet out there, so that way, if you see a time block and you want to put your name down to be a victim, I mean, come on the show, you can put your name down, and we'll hold a spot for you. But it's a lot. I mean, for people who've been involved in quote unquote the fireside chats that we do up on the hill after hours, like it's a really fun time for somebody that doesn't have any experience being in podcasting or being in social media to get to ride shotgun with a group that does this all the time and be part of that conversation. And you know, you can be part of the witness protection and we'll never tell anybody what your name is, or you can out yourself. It's up to you. Whatever level of anonymity or notoriety you want to have. But that's the long and the short of it. We're
yep.
probably still going to do like the Matter of Facts fireside recordings in the evenings. We might only do it one night that week since we're going to be recording so much during the day. But we'll kind of play part of that by ear. And I don't know. I'm assuming that we're going to go on a night hike, huh?
Yeah, maybe we'll see what the events bring.
See what festivities come along.
So
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to chuck in here, or do we just call
no,
this?
quick show. But yeah, we'll be back here. Uh, we'll be back when our guest when the kid is born. Um, so hopefully this week we'll still record. So um, I'll know more tomorrow. But no, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, my head was wrapped around him coming on, which again, it's not his fault. Things happen.
Mm-mm.
So not holding anything against him. It's just my brain was wrapped around that. And so when he's like, hey, this isn't family emergency kind of thing. It's like, okay, crap. What
Oh yeah.
that's the one thing about podcasting. That's probably one of the hardest things is coming up with a topic every week. It's but yeah, no, it's looking forward to what's coming. So
Yep, most definitely. Well, this will be short and sweet. If you are watching this on the stream live, y'all might be getting another show midweek if we can work that out. And if you're listening to this in audio, I suppose I'll have to figure out if I want to roll this and the possible other episode midweek together as a bonus episode, or how I want to do that. I don't know. That's podcast producer stuff. And tonight I'm just the world's tallest dwarf.
yeah,
But
all right. Well,
Matter of Facts podcast heading out the door, and we'll probably talk to y'all in a couple of days. Maybe. We'll see. Bye, y'all.
all right.